Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance. I am your host Bobby Sampson, and down below is joining us all the way from Greece, Mr. Connor himself. Connor, how you doing, buddy? Man, this was last minute. Within the last couple minutes, you decided to join us. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You are one dedicated motherfucker, brother.
I love it. I love it. I had
Awesome.
energy left over, so I wanted to
There
join
you
in. You
go.
told me this is the time, so I'm
And
here.
I would be remiss if I did not mention my man right beside me, the man with the master plan, Mr. Chance Michaels. Chance, it's Tuesday. We're a couple days removed from WrestleMania, but so much shit has gone down in between since then. How are you, my man?
Doing good. You guys?
Doing great, doing great. Can't complain. All right, first things first, let's talk about it. Let's get it out of the way. Endeavour buys the WWE. They are merging it with the UFC to make one company out of that, and they're going to publicly trade it. Thoughts?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Like I said on many podcasts, Vince isn't going away. He knows what he's doing. He'll make the best deal. He did. He's still executive chairman of the board. And now he's companies, well, he got sold for 9.3 billion. I mean, it's genius. Genius. Brilliant. And this is why on Raw, you've seen Brock Lesnar come out and trash Cody Rhodes. Because when they merge with UFC, they want to see a dominant, strong guy up there. I think that's why they let Brock come out there and just jump on the story. That's my take. So I love it. Great deal for UFC and for WWE. Power company.
It's kind of interesting because in a way, Vince is now going to be Dana's boss. In a way. I don't think
they're all buddies.
I don't think they're can be completely correlated, but yeah. But what about you, Connor? What do you think, man? I mean, more for the general fan, the more of the just reading the headlines. What are your thoughts on this?
We were talking a little bit beforehand. It's something I have to hear more about just to get more of an insight into the mechanics and what it means for WWE. But if it means more money, more eyes, and more opportunities, then I like that. I do like Triple H in control, like where creativity and direction is headed. Vince is obviously a goat. There's still energy and enthusiasm left in him. So I hope that that comes through also.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this deal is going to be monster. I think there'll be some cross-platform stuff that will probably happen at some point. But I think a lot of this has to basically do with personally, from what I've heard and stuff, it's going to alleviate a lot of money off of Endeavor's books in order to create this company, to make it public and stuff. It's a huge purchase, man. I mean,
people forget this is Vince's friend of 23 years also.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Smart play.
Ari Emanuel, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I see what they do. I mean, it's hard to say right now, but things might happen right away. Things might take a little time to roll in, but I mean, maybe we'll see. I don't know.
John. No, they're going to keep it separate. They don't want UFC being tagged with its fake fighting. They're going to keep it all separate. You might see a crossover fight.
That's what I mean.
But you're not going to see it intertwined like that.
No. But you might see stars like cross-platforming, meaning you'll get UFC guys coming over to the WWE, not necessarily to fight or anything, but just to kind of cut promos or kind of sell each other.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so, because UFC. This is the thing. UFC doesn't want to get watered down with that. This is fake. This is scripted. So when they have a big main event, they can say, well, this is scripted. If anything, you might see a Brock Lesnar or a Lashley, somebody like that, have a fight in the UFC. You're not going to see active UFC guys show up on Raw because they're going to think
not for storylines. No, not for storylines, to promote their shows.
No, I don't think so. I think they want to keep it separate.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, WWE's reach is still much wider and bigger.
I know, but the MMA fans think wrestling is fake, and they don't want to intertwine that. Although they're under one umbrella, you're not going to see it cross up. I'd be very shocked just because of that. That's just my take. I could be wrong.
No. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, I would never consider it being more of guys coming over and fighting and stuff like that, right? I mean, it would be more just to promote the stuff. Like, fuck, man, Conor McGregor in the WWE cutting a promo. That'd be fucking kind of cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Right? And
I see both sides. Like, I definitely agree with Chance. I don't think they'll want to blur the lines with because already there was quite a thing in the UFC about the betting as well, wasn't there? Like, some coach got some court case because he was putting out his takes on betting, and there was all this kind of you couldn't bet in the UFC for a period of time because of all this kind of scandal, you
Yeah.
know. So almost is it almost like in the lines of, is it fixed a little bit, you know, kind of getting
Yeah.
played around with. So maybe they would want to toy with that, but there are some characters like Colby Covington that would just thrive in that
Yeah.
environment if he got a chance, or McGregor, you know. It'd be interesting to see though. I would agree also there might be more of a crossover, like CM Punk already fought in UFC, and Lashley's obviously had like MMA career, Lesnar too. So, but they
Yeah.
kind of are intertwined. Daniel Cormier, I'd like to talk about WWE. So does Chael Sonnen. Obviously, Earl Helwani now does like segments within WWE. Of course, he's not affiliated with UFC, but be interesting to see.
Well, like Ariel is connected to BT Sports, who's connected to WWE, so he does a lot of his WWE coverage to that. Daniel Cormier was all over WrestleMania this weekend as well.
Yeah,
he did a lot of interviews. He did one with Brock. He did something with Becky Lynch, I believe, as well. I think he did a sit down with a couple guys also. So I mean, the dude was all over it. So I mean, ESPN MMA, their website was all over it as well. So I mean, he had a lot of content that was coming out from different other venues that normally don't cover it or have interview segments. So, you know, maybe people.
Well, ESPN every year they cover WrestleMania. The last few years they've had Triple H on and random guys on First Take in the morning to pump up WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah,
so
no. But I'm talking about these other kind of segments, having like, you know, the Daniel Cormiers and stuff. That was a little bit different. But yes, they're on all the other major outlets. All right. So McMahon apparently is back at the head of creative, it seems like, from last night's reports coming out.
I don't agree with that. This is funny about the indie fans. So there's a show that they don't like, and Vince booked it. If it was a show that they like, Triple H booked it. I mean, the guy has always had influence, even when he retired. I don't believe that he booked the whole show. I think it was still Triple H. Not every Raw is going to be a hit.
No,
big letdown.
Hey man, dude, right? I'm just telling you what I've been reading here.
Apparently, I've been reading that
about 4 to 5 different rewrites, 15 minutes before the show, very Vince-esque. Bailey got canned from the show as well. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm
just saying my opinion.
But my opinion is this then, straight up, if Vince is coming back to the WWE, that's a bad thing for creative. If he's coming back to creative, he can do other things. In my opinion, I think that's just a shitty move for him to come back to creative.
I disagree with you. He's the boss. He's the owner. He's the greatest creative mind ever in wrestling. Triple H has booked 6 months of shows, but that's a small body of work compared to 40 years of work, right?
No,
I was saying, I read
those
reports too, and they always say a bad show, Vince booked it. A great show, Triple H booked it. So it's just the indie guys thinking that this segment is Vince, this segment is Triple H. Who knows? Maybe they both booked it. We don't really know.
No, we were not backstage, but all I'm saying is when Triple H took over, morale went up. The WWE got super hot. I mean, every show was great. I mean, for what they were doing, everything was awesome. If Vince is coming back, I'm not disputing in any way what Vince has done. He's a genius. He's absolutely everything you say he is, and I will exclamation mark that 50 times over.
Yeah.
Right. But the reality is he's old now. He's too old for what the product is. And in terms of what people want. Yeah, but see, dude,
but it's not, people don't realize, like, they have 75 writers. They got Bruce Pritchard. It's not just Triple H.
No,
people
I'm not saying that. But if he's
but
the way he runs, the way he ran creative, that was the worst Royal Rumble we had last year. Leading up to everything up into April, I mean, Mania was okay. It was a good show. But you could tell the difference in morale and character and the way the stories were going. Right. I'm not saying Vince is a bad thing for creative, but I don't think he needs to be ahead of creative. Let them do what they're doing. That's all I'm saying.
He's not saying he is the head of creative. He just said, I'll have my hands on it, but I won't be in the weeds. It's a son-in-law, dude. He could fire Triple H right now. He's always had his input and say, no matter what people say. And this Bruce Pritchard, they got 75 writers backstage. It's not
okay, so you're telling me that the whole time for the last year and a half that Vince, before he left, he was booking the show. You enjoyed every episode.
But not you, dude. When you do 40 years of TV, you can't have every episode good. There's been a lot of Raws at Triple H.
No, but what I'm saying to you though, but you're not answering the question. Did you think that majority of those shows were great?
Of Vince?
Yeah. For the last year and a half,
he's had more good shows than bad shows. Absolutely, yeah.
No, but what I'm saying, I'm asking you, did you think he was on top of his game for that last year?
I thought it was still pretty good. It was solid. They had good numbers. People were showing up at WrestleMania, 70,000, 80,000. So yeah, I think he did pretty good.
But house show numbers were down. Raws were down. SmackDowns were down.
But Raw's been down for the last 20 years. Even with Triple H, from 5 million to 2 million.
Since he left, they've had the numbers have been going up. I'm just saying, right? I just don't think I just don't think Vince coming back full-time into creative at this age is the best move for
Age
the
is just a
company.
number, but you look at the guy, he's a genetic freak. He's better shape than most guys that are 40. Age is just a number. That's how you take care of yourself.
It has
He
nothing to
just
do
got
with,
the biggest wrestling.
I don't think it has
right?
anything to do with physical health, man. I just don't think he's in tune. Connor, man, you're just sitting here listening. What are your
Physical
thoughts
health
on
and
this,
mental
man?
health are all intertwined, dude. You only look as good as you feel in your body. Physically healthy and mentally healthy, hand in hand.
Connor, your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I agree. I see both sides. You know, it's definitely a new time, a new era. In general, social energy has changed a lot too since the prime time of Vince being in creative. You know, don't say that he's past his prime. You know, he's still got a lot of good ideas, I imagine, roaming around. You've seen him in that
Mhm.
Pat McAfee podcast. You know, I really liked that. I thought it showed a good
That was
human
good.
side of Vince. You know, it showed that he's still got good wit, good energy, good positivity, you know, about him to bring it forward. That being said, too, it's a different time, and I don't know how people's going to react to because of like Me Too movement has happened, and obviously all the scandal with Vince as well. That might leave a sour taste in people's mouths. People might not easily forget that or move past it. I think maybe they will, but there could be a bit of a block there. And of course, that's why Vince also took a little bit of a backseat, I think, for a while
Mhm.
too, which allowed Triple H to step up. It could be a good blend of both, because Triple H is still new to being the front runner, so maybe even just having Vince's presence, around will help him a little bit, help him to stay maybe a little bit more, like when a boss is around, like when you get
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
me in.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
sometimes you step up, but sometimes as well that little bit of pressure, especially if they have a good input as well, especially if it's a positive environment, it could be a best of both worlds. But I think it's more of a wait and see. I'm just hopeful that it works out. I did like the idea of Triple H being in control because it seems like he bonds with people. Triple H is a very respected character for good reason. He loves wrestling. He's
Mhm.
passionate about it. His whole just his I love seeing him on Raw. Like I just thought like Triple H has just got it. People always about Rushmore and they never really put Triple H on it. But I was watching Triple H walk in the ring and I'm like, this guy deserves to be in any wrestling Rushmore. He's so passionate, he's so dedicated to it, and I think give him a chance, he will make it thrive. So I'm interested to see if Vince's input can help him a little bit more, see where it goes. But I hope it doesn't diminish the other wrestlers' morale because that's the last thing you want because people now feel like I want to see FTR back. I'm not sure if they're contracted, they're going to renew with AEW, but
they have renewed with AEW.
Okay. I really wanted them back in WWE. But I mean, kudos. I'm sure they'll do great things in AEW,
Yeah.
but with that relationship Triple H has, like people did say that it opens a door for people that maybe were let go that still could have done some great things, where Vince maybe has that little bit, Vince comes from that more aggressive type background, I think, where it was
Yeah.
like that's how you got things done. You pushed hard, you got it done. Where now the social energy's changed a little bit. I'm not sure if that really rubs with people quite as much as a motivator anymore. I don't know. So it will be a wait and see. But Vince has created the product, but this is Vince's. Vince has got it to where it is. Undoubtedly, and he's. What I love about Vince is he's an example of he. Like they always talk about it. He won't get you to do something that he won't, and he
Yeah, I
shows
love
that
that.
time that's a
Yeah,
leader too, so we'll
no,
see.
no
See what
disputing
happens.
what Chance said, no disputing what you said as well. I completely agree with both of you guys. All my point is that, like you said, Connor, just be involved, but be more in the background. Don't be in the forefront. That's where I think
But the
he should
thing
be
is, dude,
now.
when you're a billionaire and you take up $1 million and you make a $9 billion product, you create all these characters. Triple H hasn't created any characters. He married into the power. I hate to say that, but it's true. So Vince sees all this and he knows, like, yes, Triple H can have the main say, but Vince will get the final stamp. It's his baby. He created it. And you know what I mean? Like, if people don't like it, they can go to AEW or build their own brand. But nobody has done what Vince has done. 1 million and 9.3 billion speaks for itself. Mega
No,
deal.
that's fine.
Right?
I get it. But in order to keep the product going, they have to evolve with the times as well. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
He has, though.
And
Mm-hmm.
Peacock streaming and everything, right?
under a full Vince control, that will not happen properly, in my opinion. That's just the way I see it.
I disagree with that. But let's get on to WrestleMania.
All right. So let's move on. Here we are, WrestleMania 39, guys, the biggest WrestleMania in history. 166,000 people over the 2 nights, they're saying. I think that's a little fudged based on other things that I've read, but I guess they're counting everybody. So the cameraman, his family who's at home, are a part of the attendance as well. But hey, so night one opens up with Latin Grammy winner. I don't know who she is. Becky G. She sings America the Beautiful. Snoop and Miz open up the show. Now, we knew Miz was the host of WrestleMania. I saw Snoop on a poster, but they never talked about it. They never publicized it. They never really mentioned it. That Snoop was also co-host of WrestleMania. So a surprise to, I guess, a lot of people who didn't pay attention to the poster, but the two of them are out there. They're pumping up WrestleMania. They're calling out the matches, get a feel for who the crowd is behind. And we get right into the first match of the night. Austin Theory versus John Cena, curtain jerker. This is the show. This is the match to open it all up. I think the best part of this match was the entrances. Honestly, the match itself was bogus. I thought it's very, very basic. Now I understand that John Cena's filming and he's doing his thing, so he can only work a very basic style match. I'll be honest, the match served its purpose for what it was supposed to do. John Cena is the biggest name in wrestling. Why you open it up with him? The crowd's into it. Now the crowd was so hot that they made the match look good, but in my opinion, this is probably the worst match of the night for the show. That being said, I felt bad for Austin Theory because if this was supposed to elevate him, I don't think it did anything for him. Guys?
I totally disagree with everything you just said, to be honest. But Connor, you take it away.
Yeah, I can't see how wrestling John Cena at WrestleMania, it's such a young career, I can't see how that's not going to elevate him. I agree the match wasn't great, of course.
Okay. Sorry, Connor. Let me just add this thing, okay?
Yeah,
just to help you understand why. The only time Cena showed up on Raw for this, to build up this match, he fucking verbally assaulted him. He broke him down. He cut him down. He made him, you're not important to us. We don't like you, blah, 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 right? So if you go into this match with John Cena, you need to dominate him. You need to be able to kind of show that you're wrong, sort of a deal. And I don't think he got that moment. This is why I said that this didn't benefit him because of all those promos and everything that happened beforehand, based on the storyline itself, right? Yeah, fighting John Cena will elevate you, but the character didn't get elevated.
I think, like, for me, it's protect Cena at all costs. I'm a huge Cena fan, so for me, I'm like, Cena's the man. I wish Cena got more. I was hoping Cena would win. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but a part of me was like, come on, can Cena just get the US title? I'm just a huge Cena fan. So I think, and I thought also it was better than Cena matches in the past at Mania. Cena's had some really bad showings at WrestleMania recently, so I think I was setting the bar based off, like, his match with Bray. Although yes, very creative and good visuals, it wasn't anything to me spectacular. I like those things, but I like the in-ring action. He fought Taker. That wasn't it was a squash match. He got squashed quite much by Reigns as well. So I didn't want to see Cena's too good. I just like Cena too much for him to be squashed, to be dominated. Austin Theory, I don't think it would make sense for him also where he's at to dominate Cena. I think he had to have the cheat win, and it was the cheat win where he got the low blow. I expected that. I expected a low blow
and the biting.
And the biting was I actually thought that was a nice touch. It's just a little bit of aggression. I don't know. I thought, yeah, the match itself, I didn't think it was a great match, but for what it was, I enjoyed, actually. I wish it went on a little bit longer. I thought Theory would have hit the low blow and get the finish, but yeah, I was happy. I was happy with how it went. Unhappy because I wanted Cena to win. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I knew for the progression of Austin Theory and wrestling as it is, Cena had to lose, But again, the huge fan of me wanted Cena to win. I thought Cena did some stuff that was risky because I didn't think he's going to do very much because he has to protect himself now with his career in Hollywood, But
it's very basic.
I thought Cena. I thought Cena, though, still, because any move, you've seen it with Shane, which I'm sure we'll get to later. Any move can be a risk. Any move can be one wrong turn, one wrong bump. And you're on the injured list, and suddenly now that contract deal you've got, you can't be fulfilled quite as well. So for me, I love Cena. I think Theory's great. I think Theory bounced back. I thought Theory did really good at actually countering Cena's comments. I thought Cena, did the, between the legs, kind of that sophomore stuff where Theory had a little bit more aggression and really more like Theory's just taking opportunities, I think, and rising with them. So I think he'll continue to rise. And I was happy with it overall. Wish he went longer. Part of me was so Cena won, but I think overall I was happy and I expected that outcome, expected a low blow finish. And that's what happened. And but yeah, I think Airtown moves forward. I think he's going to keep building. I think his career is going to keep blossoming, and it should.
Chance?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you said, Connor. I thought it was a good match. I mean, John Cena is mid to late 40s. Can't expect too much out of him. Yes, he wants to correct himself from Hollywood, but the match does elevate Theory because now he can say, I defeated one of the greatest of all times at WrestleMania. Cena talked all that trash. Theory was biting him, doing all that dirty stuff like a heel should do. He got the win, which you got to put the young guy over. It wasn't the best match, but I thought it was good, and it puts Theory on the map as a big win in his young career at WrestleMania. So all in all, not a bad match, and I was happy with it. I agree with you. It could have been a little bit longer, but Cena didn't look bad. I mean, he's mid-40s, hasn't wrestled in a while.
He looked
a little bit
pale.
slower on his feet. He's not on the juice anymore. He's off the spray tan, but it was a good match, and I'm glad Theory won.
Theory's the man. Theory's the man.
All right. So from there, we move on to the Fatal 4-Way, the Profits versus the Viking Raiders, Strowman, Ricochet versus who were the last? Gable and Otis.
Let's go. That was great.
Wow, that was a fun match, actually.
That was fun.
To be fair, I didn't have much expectation for it. I thought it was just something they kind of threw in, as well as the women's showcase match, just to put in there. But some great moves here, man. Gable suplexing Braun. Wow.
The rolling German suplex. Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah, man.
That was phenomenal.
The moonsault. I mean, that moonsault that Montel did over the top rope was just insane. What are you guys' thoughts here, man? Like, I thought the match was fun overall.
Great match.
I
told you, Street Profits with the W, but great match, great action, Connor.
Street Profits are amazing, oh man, they're next level. Like that is, they I hope they get elevated more. I mean, obviously we'll talk later about the tag team title situation, but as a team, phenomenal charisma, athleticism, the size, the look, great. The spots in that match, was it which one of the Viking Raiders that hit the springboard?
The Ivar, the big man.
Ivar, I thought it was Ivar. Oh my God. That they just pulled out everything. The Gable, I love Gable, by the way. I don't care if he's got the shoosh gimmick or whatever. Gable is just an athletic freak. I think he's the man also. That rolling German suplex, phenomenal. I hope that guy gets a push in some way. I hope this character leads to something bigger. Then the tower move with the the human tower with the crossbody off the top.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was just the right thing, as you said about the match. Wasn't the best match I've seen it. It did what it had to do. It's still good to see Cena at WrestleMania, and then that just picked the energy right up. They took what was supposed to be a kind of nothing match, just thrown together match, and then made it just elevated to this exciting level.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a lot of fun, and like going forward here, like after what happened to the Profits last night, losing on Raw last night. I mentioned this to Chance before as well. I almost have a feeling that they're going to go heel pretty soon here. I have a sense this is what they're going to do with them. I almost have a feeling, they're going to connect with MVP somehow. I don't know how, but something's going to happen. And, you might get the Hurt Lock 2.0. In terms of Gable, I'm hearing that he's going to be going on. He's going to be getting a push here because Otis is going to go with the Maximum Models at some point. And, that's why I thought the Viking Raiders were one. I thought they would be the most consistent tag team, but hey, you never know, right? But hey, let's move on to the next match here. We are talking Seth frickin' Rollins against Logan Paul. Now, two things that I noticed here was Logan's entrance, a tribute to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12 in Los Angeles. If that's the case, was Seth Rollins' gear a tribute to Bret Hart with the pink and the red? I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe.
But overall, fun match. Very, very athletic. Logan Paul did an amazing job. The only criticism I have, and we've talked about this before, Chance, and it's just something you have to work on, right? It's just that flow. There's that one scene that I saw where he was coming in for a clothesline or something, but he stopped short. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Like, a fine eye would pick it up, but it's just kind of one of those things like He just has to flow a little bit better. Now, that KSI spot, phenomenal. Perfect timing. Perfect fucking timing. There's no other way to put it.
And how high he can jump and how far he can jump. He's one of the best athletes in the whole roster. He's phenomenal.
I wouldn't go that far, but you know what? He's a really good athlete. I thought he
For me,
did a great job.
This is the best match of WrestleMania night one. I thought had the best spots, best athleticism, told a good story. That spot with KSI, and it was a great match. It was my favorite match of the night. I thought it was the most entertaining overall.
Yeah, no, very entertaining.
I love Logan Paul. Like, people don't give him enough credit. He's better than 90% of that, 95% of that roster as a character and athleticism. He's just unbelievable. He's that good, I think. Connor, what do you think?
Oh, agree. You'll have to jog my memories, as I was saying, start jogging memory in the matches, but just in this moment right now, I have to agree. Favorite match that I thought it would be. I agree with you. I just think Logan's phenomenal in the ring. Awesome. Not the greatest fan outside. Impulsive, I've watched a little bit, but I think his character transfers over so well to WWE. It's almost like he's made for it.
Yeah.
Match with his passion, athleticism. You have to be passionate to be as good as he is. In four matches. That was his fourth match. That is ridiculous. The insanity of his progression. And those spots that he hits every time, the leaps, and then he goes against Rollins, who I think is the best, right now, and they worked so well together. The lead up, there was great rivalry leading up in a short space, really, because Logan's not there every night, so with what they had to work with, I thought they did great storytelling leading up to it. The knockout blow, thought it was so good. Rollins hit the stomp in his hand, which delayed him from getting the pin after he looked like he knocked him unconscious. The springboard into the super kick before the stomps, I just thought when two guys are that athletic and they hit those big of spots, there's so many areas for things to go wrong. Like, I think Cody and Seth, there was quite a few spots I felt that were a little bit botchy or didn't quite go well last year's WrestleMania, but I overlooked that because what a two great talents, two of the absolute best, and what a showcase. But it can happen with two guys I think are just so athletic and hit big spot moves where I didn't see anything wrong. Like, I didn't see, like you said, you might, for like the detailed eye, if you're really catching it, you will see maybe but I think I can go for any match. If you're really looking closely, any match will see like something that didn't quite go well. But I think for two guys that are both super athletic, and somehow Logan, you could say, he's in his prime after four matches. I don't know how, but my favorite match. I was watching it with my girlfriend Anna, and we were both just impressed. And I was like looking at her like that. I remember just saying, like, I knew that was going to be a great match. It delivered, and then some. Yeah, I thought that was a spectacular match.
Yeah, it was beautiful to watch. And the guys, like you said, Seth's the best, and then Logan's athleticism. Best point you made. 4 matches only. Guys go in their whole life in the indies wrestling and finally get up 10 years later. It's 4 matches, outperforming most of the roster. It's unbelievable that he can do that. It's unbelievable.
So I will say something here. What I did appreciate from Logan Paul was his selling. I love that. When he got stomped on the steps, when his hand got stomped on the steps, because the story here was his fist, that shot versus the stomp, in essence, right? And him getting stomped on the hand and him selling it and continuously selling it was amazing. I really did appreciate that. Now, 4 matches in, 3 of those matches, he had about a month and a half to practice. That's all I'm going to say. So,
but still, though, we got guys 15 years.
No. I know he's athletic and everything, but he's had the most time with Shawn Michaels one-on-one to practice each match.
But how many guys are trained with Shawn Michaels that can't perform half as good as Logan Paul?
But they don't get the opportunity to work on one match for a whole fucking month. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But you can work on a match. You could take Dolph Ziggler and he can work on a match for 1 year and he won't be able to pull off what Logan did. Or it's just an example of a guy who's been around forever. Like, he's that good, man. I get what you're saying outside of the ring. He might not be the greatest guy. I'm just talking in the ring. He's brilliant.
Cool. All right, let us move to the next match here. Lita, Trish, and Becky going up against Damage Control. I had higher hopes for this match than it actually produced. And Lita looked really limited in what she could do. Kind of weird that they put the strap on her because Trish looked so much better, in my opinion, considering that was her first match technically since she's kind of come back into the fold. Becky looked great. The other girls looked amazing. I mean, really, at the end of the day, you had your basic spots here. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. My takeaway was it was a good match. And again, I think the crowd being hot made it look really good. and exciting. Average, in my opinion, at most. It was kind of hard to watch Lita work. That was my takeaway from it, guys.
I agree. I agree with the Lita stuff, and I love Lita growing up. Like, just
Yeah,
such a
absolutely.
huge fan. You know, got high hopes, but yeah, it's hard for me to watch. You know, it's yeah, I agree with what you said. You know, I will say for me, the greatest takeaway was just how Becky worked with what in the lead up to this. Like, I thought she cut some hell of promos leading up to this. She really made it relevant and important. You know, which a six person tag with the titles not being on the line. You know, they needed something to give it relevance. Needed to make it I think even bigger with significance. And I think that Becky just cut some great promos to give it the relevance, and it was what we expected to be. I imagine with the finish and the winners. You know, sadly, Lita just doesn't seem to have obviously. I mean, come on, like how long has she been out of the ring for? But as you said, Trish, you know, giving her the spot. I think maybe why though Becky and Lita, they just have that same vibe and energy, right? A little bit of edginess to them. You know, they maybe blend a little better as a realistic team as such. But for working, yeah, if it's a Trish would be a better fit for right now as a worker. But it did what it had to do, and you know, I think it gave Becky, you know, more time to shine. I'm sure it meant a hell of a lot to her too, working with two of the best ever to do it. You know,
No,
two of the
100%.
pioneers. You know, so yeah, I agree with you though. I agree.
Chance?
My least favorite match of the night. I mean, it is hard to watch Lita wrestle. I said that in a couple shows before that. I mean, she's got a good character. Trish looked great. Like, you couldn't tell that's Trish 20 years ago. Looks exactly the same almost. She moves well. Becky did great, like you guys said. I'm not going to say too much. My least favorite match of the night. It was okay, but nothing special.
I think that we're going to see one of those two legends turn on one another here pretty soon. For some reason or the other, I just see Trish turning on them, costing them the tag team titles at some point.
Could be.
It should be interesting. Should be interesting times. All right, let's go to one of the stories that have been told for over almost close to a year. And we got the conclusion finally at WrestleMania 39. Dominic Mysterio versus his dad, Rey Mysterio Jr.
Now, the deadbeat dad, he says.
Now, Dom comes out in a paddy wagon, the promo, they were showing him in jail. Now, did you guys notice this or not? There was a lot of backlash on this. One of the images that they showed during Dom's entrance was from Auschwitz.
I didn't even pick up on that. Didn't notice.
No.
Yeah, it was from Auschwitz. And then, speaking up on things, this is one thing that annoyed me all night. WrestleMania 39, right?
Yeah.
166,000 people, millions upon millions of people watching around the world. You have 2 nights of this show, correct?
Correct.
Now, the ramp leading down to the ring, go back and watch this. The side of it was gold, right?
Yep.
Okay. That side that they kept showing had a fucking tear in it, or it wasn't sealed properly for both nights. That's all I'm going to say about this.
I didn't even notice that, dude. I didn't even see it.
You got to see it, man, right there on the side. As they're coming down and they do the wide angle shot of them coming down the ramp, you see it. Just like that piece of, like, the 2 vinyls didn't connect to one another. It's like wallpaper. One piece of the wallpaper is falling off. It's like, fix it, man, fix it. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
I never know. Maybe they didn't pick up on that either, because you figured out the night when they had fixed that. But
well, I picked up on it and I kept watching. I'm like, okay, someone's going to see this, right? Like, I'm not the only one seeing this. Yeah. And I went back and I watched again. Yeah, motherfucking thing is just broken there. Okay, so Dom comes out with the prison garb. He's wearing the mask. I thought it was a really cool entrance. Ray came out, probably one of the coolest entrances I've ever seen in a long time. Tribute to Eddie Guerrero with Snoop driving the car. That was really cool. The match I thought was really fun. I thought it was a great conclusion to the story, but it didn't close the story completely. This will continue. Great storytelling through and through. Just well-rounded all the way. I just thought the involvement of Angie and Aaliyah in the match as well kind of, you know, brought it all full circle. I dejected Dom at the end of it all, but the right guy won. Great storytelling, ultimately. Like, I'm not going to say this was a great move fest or anything like that. I'm going to focus on the storytelling, the story that was told at the very beginning to how it wrapped it up. very well done. I thought it was a good match.
Yeah, man. Eddie Guerrero, Viva la Raza. That was the thing for me, man. Oh, huge Eddie fan. Eddie's probably my favorite of all time, not just because of afterwards you can reflect back of how good his career was and think, yeah, that's my favorite. Even when watching, just huge Eddie fan through and through. Eddie and Triple H were like my two guys, So I always love when people pay homage to Eddie. I love seeing just how relevant and loved he is still, like, what is it, probably decades now? Is it close to 20 years?
Yeah,
Getting
2005.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, getting
18
close to
2005.
years.
20 years,
It was 2005.
and I just love that it mentioned Eddie a lot, so I love that they paid homage, good entrance. I love how Ray can move, like I think Ray getting Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame speech as well. That's just made his stock go up. It just shows people just how much of a nice guy he is as well. Like even seeing him in night two, shaking everyone's hand, like he really paid attention to everyone on stage. I think it made Ray look even better than he already does look. We already love Ray, and then
Yeah.
he can still move so well. He just moves incredible. He can still he's still so passionate that he sells his story really well too, because it takes two. I know Dom really elevated that because Dom was like got so much heat, and he did such a great job of making himself hated to the point where we wanted to see Ray punch him. That's why it was so major pop. But you got to give Ray credit too. Like he sold it really well too. He's still so passionate about the business. Phenomenal. I'm just happy that Ray got the victory, but I just love seeing, like the good victory happening. Ray deserved to win. Good storytelling. Ray still moves really well. So all in all, happy. The Eddie thing just got me over the top.
Yeah. No, I thought one thing we should mention quickly that Ray took off his belt and whipped his ass. That was a fun segment. But yeah, no, overall, for myself personally, just seeing where Dom was last year on WrestleMania to where he is now, he has gotten a lot better. I think obviously he still has a lot to improve and get better on. But I mean, even him, he's become much better himself. Chance?
Yeah, pretty much what you guys said. It was great storytelling. Ray is what, late 40s, 47, 48. He moves like he's 25. It's unbelievable how he moves. Bad Bunny got involved there. Grabbed the chain.
Yeah, LWO was out.
Yeah, LWO came
Yes.
out. Great entrance. It was a fun match. Great storytelling, like you said.
Yeah.
It's not over yet, but it was
No.
a fun match. I'm glad Ray won. I enjoyed it.
Well, if Raw's an indication and how this match ended, so this basically ended when Judgment Day did come out eventually in this match, and Damian Priest conveniently left his jacket in the corner of by one of the ring posts, and inside that jacket was a steel chain. Dom grabs the steel chain, goes to hit Ray with it, but Bad Bunny, who's on the Spanish commentating table, he comes and takes the chain out of his hand, and that's how the match ends with the 619. And yeah, so last night's Raw, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Connor, or not, but
Yeah,
Bad
seen
Bunny
it.
got involved again with Damian Priest and that whole situation. Puerto Rico,
Chokeslam.
man, Backlash. I think we're gonna see Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio against Damian Priest and Dominic. I think that's the match that's gonna be made here.
That'd be cool. Like I said, Ray and Dom was great storytelling, great entrances, great finish all around. Really good, really well done.
No,
I just don't like lack of consistency, right? There's been the LWO has been intertwined in that story for some time.
Yeah.
They formed that bond, the LWO, right? So now he's got a squad to back him up, right? And where were they on Raw? I was like, come on, be consistent. This is a good
I
thing.
know.
Don't just let this be a mania thing where it's LWO
This is a cheap pop, I
reunited.
guess.
you know what? They're a
Yeah.
They're a SmackDown faction.
That's true. That's true.
And to be fair, Ray's from SmackDown, so why he was on Raw, I'm not sure. Right? Like,
True.
I mean, he got
Good point.
drafted to SmackDown. But yeah, I know. I mean, it is WrestleMania week, and I'm sure everyone's still around. But they should have come out. But I don't think they came out in order to sell this, though. The Bad Bunny
Of course,
segment.
yeah.
If you had the LWO out there, I don't think you could have sold that segment as well at the same time. Okay, so both of you guys felt that Logan Paul and Seth Rollins was your favorite match of the night.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. I know what you're going with.
No,
I know what you're going with.
For you, that was your match of the night, right?
For me,
Chance,
it was the best match at WrestleMania, in my opinion,
of the whole show.
of the whole show.
Wow. Chance,
I think
Michael's
so.
coming in big, man. You got big balls, brother. All right.
Yeah.
So here is my favorite match of night one. And we're going with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair.
I knew it.
And
I was
I'll
like,
tell you
yeah.
what, man, this for me was the match of the night. I wouldn't say it was the match of the whole show. But this was definitely match of night one. Man, these girls hit so bloody hard, man. I mean, it was a slow start. I guess they were just kind of feeling each other out. But once they got going, that one spot where she flipped her over, when Rhea flipped her over backwards and Charlotte hit her face. I mean, these guys were fighting hard style, man. Just phenomenal back and forth. The storytelling. I mean, you can't beat me. I'm not scared of you. I have to win in order to get to the next level. I mean, the expressions, all of it. These two put on a clinic, in my opinion. And I thought it was like, yes, we had an amazing matches on whatnot, but for just be considering the build up for the match, considering how much time they had to work with it, considering the storytelling and the way they executed in the ring. I mean, they checked off every fucking box for me in terms of a match. I don't care if it was male or female, it's just they deliver. And that's what I'm going to take away from it. We have a new SmackDown Women's Champion. I think that was the right call. I just see great things for her now, man. And Charlotte, I think she's taken off now. She's not going to be back for a while. We probably won't see her for maybe till the end of SummerChance. And Connor, I believe she wants to do a weightlifting competition. So
Cool.
she's already looking super lean. So I think she's going to take off and do that. So the door opens for other talent now to kind of shine and grow some more talent down there. What did you guys think, man? I loved it.
Connor, take it
Oh,
away.
yeah, thanks, man.
Than you guys are going to have here. Go ahead.
I agree. That's why I said jog my memory. I was saying jog my memory because especially with it being such a long two days, 2 nights. Yeah, man, that's a good call. Actually, I think it's right up there. I forgot about that match initially being on day one, but that was that I remember thinking like this is phenomenal, like hard hitting, great moves, like stiff, and there didn't seem to me. They didn't really seem too much botching, which is great, because when you hit those big spots, those big moves, just hard hitting moves, especially the finish as well. Like, oh, there's a lot of chance for some botching going on, but there wasn't. The emotion on Charlotte's face, now that I know she's leaving for a little bit of time, that could be a two, but I think the emotion was more so because she knew they had put on a hell of a match, and she sat outside like with tears in her eyes, clapping for Rhea, and I think she couldn't just contain, that feeling. And I was like, damn, that just felt like spectacular. It felt like a big moment, a big changing of the guard. And Rhea's, there's no better than Rhea. I think Rhea and Belair are they're the best of the best. Now they've both got the titles on them. Yeah, phenomenal match.
No, I loved it. Like, I mean, one of the big stories that I took from here, like the storytelling again was phenomenal. Like the story here was, for me anyways, was Charlotte trying to get that figure 8 on, and she was unable to execute that at every time. Like he was blocked continuously, right? Like it was just like the technicality against the power sort of a deal. And, power kept prevailing. And it just like whatever Charlotte threw at her, she threw back and forth, and neither one was giving it an inch. And it was just a good match. I mean, everything aside, you just look at it as a match. If you didn't know who was in it, it just, I thought it was great. Chance?
Yeah, it was a good match. I'm not quite as high on it as you guys are, but I thought it was good. Hard hitting, good story. Rhea had to get the belt. I mean, it was too obvious almost, but she deserves it. It was a good match. I'm not going to dog it. Hard hitting action, not one of my top matches of the weekend, but it was really good. They worked their butts off. My hat's off to them. It was good.
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed a lot in this WrestleMania, this one particular thing happened consistently, not in every match, but I noticed this in a few of them, where the guys and girls in this case would, 20 minutes into the match, finally regroup, stand in the middle of the ring and just start trading shots. You know what I mean? Like bam, bam, bam. Yeah. It happened with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. It happened with Charlotte and Rhea. It happened with Asuka and Belair. It happened with Cody in the main event, and then where they had
Sheamus
and
Drew.
Yeah, like that's just a fucking chop fest. We'll get to that as we get to next year.
Yeah.
But let's quickly close out night one here. So we had what I thought was probably the right choice for the main event. It was either going to be that or the Rhea Ripley fight, but I'm glad they made the right choice here. I'm all for equal rights and everything, but the main event, in hindsight, that could have been the main event too, in my opinion. I mean, they lucked out on both fronts. But yeah, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, undisputed tag team champions of the world. What do you guys think, man? What are your thoughts?
Had to be. Sorry, Chance, I let you go.
No, it doesn't matter. You can go. It was a good match, right? Good story, but it was just so obvious that they were going to take the belts. I know it's wrestling, but like, I felt that night one was almost too obvious who was going to win and lose. You know what I mean? And we knew Austin was going to win. Most likely Street Profits. We knew Rhea was taking it. We knew Seth was taking it, and now we know most likely Owens and Zayn are taking it. That's the one knock I have on night one. It was too predictable. Night two obviously got a huge thing, but it was a good match. It was a lot of good moves, and I'm glad they got the belts. They deserve it. And Usos had the belts for 2 years, and it's time for a change. To sum it up, keep it short and sweet. Connor, take it away.
Yeah, it had to happen because especially now we know what's going to happen at night two. I mean, you had to give the fans some feel good leaving. You know, you had to feel like it had to be bittersweet. You know, so I think it had to happen that way. I think the ending was phenomenal. You know, the three, like three hula hoop kicks. You know, with the stunner that knocked Jimmy through the middle rope. It had to be Jay that got taken out, and it was a definitive brutal takeout for what was deserved for the harsh punishment they put on to Sami and Kevin. So I think they're great. I think the storytelling was great, all from start to finish. Feel good moment, I felt like I needed a feel good moment. I think both those guys really deserve feel good moments. I know Kevin got a chance to wrestle Stone Cold, which is a dream.
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, he just got his ass handed to him for the whole entire match. It was brutal. He just got beat from bell to bell by a guy who's retired for good reasons, and so even though it's a dream for him, I just love to see Kevin also come out on top. Sami deserved it. The big talk for pretty much the whole year was Sami Zayn, so they had to close it out with the momentum they've built for an entire year by making that the main event. I think it was predictable, as Chad said, but they did a good job of making it a brutal ending, which I thought was fitting. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, no, okay. So again, we already knew who was going to win this match. We just knew this, right? So for me, when I went into watching this, I was watching it more so through how are you going to tell the story now, And it wasn't for me the moves. I think the moves were always going to be there because both teams are amazing at what they do and how they do. They work well with each other. They work well off of each other as well. So they elevate each other. That's just the sign of good wrestlers, right? The question is how you're going to tell the end of the story now. And like you said, Connor, just like the facial expressions, the three haluva kicks, to having to prop them up and hold them up each time. And, just the story and the doubt in the Usos' minds now, right? Like, I mean, you're leaving there. Oh my God, what's Roman going to say? How is he going to treat us? Oh, everyone's been saying these things about us. So there's still a lot of story here to tell. It's not over by any means based on what we saw last night on Raw. I mean, the Usos showed up to the locker room. They were met by Paul Heyman. Heyman tells them, oh yeah, Tribal Chief says, go to the jet and eat some seafood. You guys are okay. No worries. You know what I mean? So it's starting now. Like, are these thoughts going to start building in their head? So I'm excited for where the rest of the story goes with the Usos now in the bloodline. But yeah, overall, good match. Fans went home happy because night two was something completely different, guys.
But the one thing to sum up all of night one for me, there's some great matches, but there wasn't any really surprises. And for me, when you're watching, especially WrestleMania, you need a surprise. Oh my God, he won. Oh my God, she won. Oh my God, look who's here. And it was really none of that. That was all my knock on night one. Nothing surprised me. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Night two, yes, that's different. I was saying night one. It was good overall, but I need some surprises. It's WrestleMania. When Lesnar hit the street.
We forgot one thing. We forgot one
Pat
thing.
McAfee.
Yeah, we're gonna get right there.
Yeah, that's cool, but it's
we forgot about that.
I know.
So Snoop and the Miz come out and they announce the attendance of the night, which was 80,000 or something like that. And they talk about Miz and him start going back and forth, saying, "Oh yeah, I wanted a match, but nobody wanted to fight me." Blah blah blah. He goes, "Well, I know someone." Pat McAfee comes out, does the business on Miz. Now, I'm going to say this right up front. I've been meaning to say this from the beginning of the show. Miz is one underrated guy in this company.
Oh, yeah.
All right. He fought, whatever they ask him to do, he does. This guy is the company man. I don't think he gets
Smart man.
enough. He does not get enough credit for what he does. The fact that we all hate him, that means he's doing his job awesome.
Yep.
Right. But this guy, this guy was everywhere, man. Like he was doing everything. So, shout out to the Miz, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Deserved.
Night two. George Kittle got involved. Everyone got involved. I mean, poor guy, poor Miz, man. That's all I'm gonna say about that guy. WrestleMania night 2. All right. So we start with Omos against Brock Lesnar. I called it. I said Brock would win. Very simple match, and very similar to night 1 match in terms of just a very basic match, very limited moves. Basically a storytelling match in essence. Brock overcoming this powerhouse, like, how do I beat him? How do I beat him? Gets its opportunity, 3 or 4 German suplexes, and then that viral spot of him F5ing this huge giant man. 1, 2, 3, match is over. That was it.
I thought it was a letdown. I thought Omos should have got the win because he's young. They got to build him up. Lesnar has overcome powerhouses his whole career. He's a UFC former heavyweight champ. He didn't need the win. I thought Omos should have got the win because he could say, "Hey, I beat the toughest man to ever step in the ropes." Like threw him around like a rag doll. But I mean, I was surprised they gave it to Brock. I thought you should have put Omos over. That's my take. The way, like you said, it was a few moves, a couple F5s, some hard-hitting moves. Omos doesn't get enough credit though. For a big man, he moves pretty well.
No, he does. I've always agreed with that.
He's an attraction, and in pro wrestling, you need that big monster. You need that freak show, right? But yeah, there was nothing much to it. Connor, what do you think?
I thought he's moving a lot better. Yes, I like how he sold the German suplex as well. I was like, that must be hard, for a guy his size to sell. Yeah. I felt like a kid. I felt like how it must feel like being a kid watching Andre versus Hogan. I was watching it like, look at these behemoths. I was like, this is a spectacle. It really delivered, I thought, in what they were trying to do. I thought it didn't really, not that it didn't make sense. It just, I thought they were looking for like a Lesnar Lashley again sort of match going to Mania, and then it was almost, and then I thought, but okay, I know what they're doing here. It's the savage, the beast Brock Lesnar versus this behemoth of a man, and I thought it sold in terms of visuals, like when I seen it. And I thought, and I just wanted to see. I knew they were aiming for Brock to hit the F5. I kept thinking, no, like, we've seen him hit it in Big Show, but that was like, there was like 10, 15 years ago, we've seen Brock hit the F5 on Big Show, and that was Brock when he was, a much more younger and athletic man. So I thought, can he still have it? And this guy's bigger than Big Show, does he still have it? And then Sega pick up, hit it flawlessly, and you got to give props to Omos as well for the sell of the F5, being able to take the F5 the way he did,
Well, I mean, it takes two to do that move, right? I mean,
exactly.
He needs Omos to allow him to pick him up.
Yeah,
in the first place, right? Like Hogan's always stated that he could not have slammed Andre if Andre didn't let him.
Yeah.
Right. So
but even for Brock,
but that's a lot of power.
Most guys couldn't even hold that weight on their back.
No. Even to get like a walkout with a squat with a bar on your back, even it's tough to walk out with that, But I thought for what it was, I think it was just to get for a spectacle, to get the fans hyped up. To see two behemoths like that, to see the F5 being able to be hit, I thought it was just to get the crowd started on a good foot, and that's what it did. But I think almost it was sad for Omos that he didn't get to progress, especially as Lesnar's been on top for so long. But Lesnar's got a lot left in the tank. He's got obviously a lot more to do. So it was what it was, a spectacle, a show. I just hope Owens bounces back and gets what he deserves, because he's moving much better, So
Omos came out last night on Raw. He had a match. The thinking was that the commentary was saying like, let's just get it right behind us and just move on to the next thing, sort of a deal, right? But when I watched this, I just kept having that image of Giant Gonzalez and the Undertaker, just a size disparaging, because Undertaker's bigger than Brock, right? Like taller than Brock.
Taller, yeah.
Like he's 6'11", but Brock is huge. Like
Undertaker's he's really like 6'9", but in wrestling world he's 6'11".
Right. But Brock is just huge. Like the man is bigger now than he was in the UFC. It feels like. I mean, even when I looked at him last night on Raw, I'm like, oh my god, this guy's fucking monster. Like SoFi is huge, and maybe he didn't look he looked monster, but in a smaller stadium, in a smaller setting, this man was just fucking monster over Cody last night. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, Chance, do you think that maybe Vince did this because of what you were talking about earlier, perhaps? Because we both agree that this was Vince's match that he made for Mania, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he probably picked the winner as well. So knowing that the deal is already
Probably.
done and everything, you have to put over Brock. The same
That
way they
could
put
be.
over Ronda this night, right?
I never thought of that, but yeah, he tied it in. Yeah, that could be.
That could possibly be a thing as well, because I mean, he did play a prominent role. To be honest, I thought that Brock being out first, because the way Brock Lesnar is, he'd be home in Saskatchewan before the main event,
Yeah,
right? Like he'd fight his fight and go home. So he stuck around for a reason, right? So I mean, there's a
Yeah.
bigger role here. I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious if Paul Heyman's going to play a role with him now that he's heel again.
possibly.
Right. I was also thinking, I know this is completely off the thought, but has there ever been a big man faction? Like, okay, you throw Omos in there. You throw in that other guy, Shanky, who's also 7 feet tall. Throw in that Kurt General Aziz or whatever his name is.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
Right. Those three, plus there's another one big dude that's down there. They put those 4 big motherfuckers together as one team. I just think it'd be fun. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't beat those guys. 4 of them, man. The giant crew. Their whole thing would be that we never get title shots because no one, they're scared to fight us. Nobody's going to give us the opportunities we deserve because we're the biggest guys here. Blah, blah, blah. We're always held down. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, guys.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be good. But hey, that leads right into the women's showcase match here, man. Very basic. Raquel and Liv versus Baszler and Rousey, Shotzi and Natalia versus Deville and Green. Yeah, you had some good spots out here. A lot of jumping off the top rope onto the floor. Everyone catching you. Shayna and Ronda were really in the match until the very end when Rousey came in and just won it. And that was it. Really, very simple, man. Right team won. I just felt like everyone else did the work and she just showed up and did her thing. Which is fair. And she's supposed to be a killer. And she's supposed to be a killer, right?
Yeah.
She's supposed to be a killer. So, I mean, I have no problem with the ending. It's just weird that how the match started. And it seemed like I saw more Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville going up against the other 2 teams. And, most of the major spots that anyone's going to talk about are Chelsea Green jumping off the apron onto this or that, what have you. But then Shayna comes back into the ring missing a boot. And Ronda comes in and puts on the armbar, and that's the end of the match.
Was Shayna limping at the end? Did I see that?
That's the thing nobody knows. That's the thing I'm still trying to figure out. Did she get hurt when she was catching one of them jumping off the top rope? Or did it fall off or something, right? Because she did come back into the ring. She did a little bit of work. So I wasn't sure, but it's kind of interesting, man. I don't know.
Well, that would make sense as well with Liv and Raquel being the #1 contenders. They thought, why else have that match if nothing came of it? Why make a big deal out of the spectacle if the winners weren't going to get the next in line for the tag team titles?
Well, I mean, Ronda and them are the most viable choice. You got to put the straps on those 2, right? I mean, those are going to be your eventual tag team partners. I think what's going to happen is they're going to lose to a lesser,
down the line. Yeah.
They're going to lose to a lesser team like a Raquel and Liv, and take it off of them, right? But here's the funny thing. The one thing I did take away from this match, if you look at that team of Baszler and Ronda, and you look at everyone they're going up against, they did a number on Liv. They've done a number on Raquel, putting them both on the shelf. They put Shotzi on the shelf. They broke Natalia's nose. So every team in that match had a vendetta against that one particular team. Yet that team was barely in the match until the end.
Yeah. For me, I mean, this match is probably my least favorite of all the matches on both nights.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. It was nothing special. And like you said, I mean, Ronda got the win. She's supposed to be the killer. I mean, it was a little bit of a letdown, to be honest. I don't know. What do you think, Connor? Not much to say.
No, not much to say. Yeah, and that was it was what it was. Even the ending was lackluster. It's kind of like, okay, let's end it now. Like the guys took their opportunity and just made a spectacle out of it. I just don't think it was the same here, and just didn't feel like that big field like the men's did in the first night. And the ending was just, come in, I'll just finish it now. So Yeah, and as you
They
say,
didn't
not
really have
much to
any
say for
chemistry.
me
They didn't have a
also.
good flow. There was no chemistry really. It was just kind of thrown together to see what sticks, you know. And
Yeah.
So at this point, Connor and Chance Michaels, I looked at my clock and it was 5:43 in the evening here in Vancouver, Connor. 5:43, which means WrestleMania started at 5 o'clock. About 10 minutes of national anthems, this, and that. First match, second match. We basically went, first two matches were roughly about 13 to 14 minutes in length in total for the first two matches. So looking at my clock, I'm like, oh my God, like what, we still only have 4 matches left. What's planned? Like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? So we get probably, I'm gonna call this the match of all of Mania, in my opinion. The Intercontinental title match between Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre. A chop fest, man. I think these three dudes shook hands and pledged to one another to beat the shit out of each other and chop the shit out of each other. Wow. The match was amazing.
yeah.
How do you take so many fucking chops, man? Like,
And Sheamus hitting like 30 beats the barn too. Like,
right? I mean, just Gunther as well. Like, I mean, I love the starting of this match because the story here was Sheamus never winning this one title, right? And
Yeah.
my buddy Drew, taking this opportunity away from me. And then you got Gunther the ring running around. Like, my beloved sport, how could you do this to me? Why would you put me in this position? Sort of a deal. He's not the odd man out, but you know what I mean? Like the story was more Sheamus and Drew with him thrown in. And if you think about it, this fucking WrestleMania was an ad fest. I forgot to mention that Dom and Ray were sponsored by Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? Inuit taxes were all over the place.
Yeah.
And this match was sponsored by Mike's Hard Lemonade. Now, in the promo for it, ironically enough, Gunther was left out. It was just Sheamus Sheamus and Drew were in the promo for this. Wow, mega spot fest for everything here tonight, man. But I love the starting of the match. Gunther, controlling the ring, all three men staring each other down, and Gunther saying, "Listen, you guys fight each other. I understand." And he, Gunther played it smart and walked away, but he got involved as well. And this match was on a go, man. And it just flowed so well. I mean, there's just transitions, everything about it, the storytelling. I wish Sheamus had won. I think that would have been fun. I think that would have been a cool moment. But that dude's got his WrestleMania moments, if you think about it. I mean, winning the heavyweight title in 36 seconds, that's got to be a moment. Gunther was the right guy to win, I guess, in essence. I mean, you can't go wrong with him winning either. I'm kind of curious to see where this story kind of goes now. I think Sheamus will eventually win this title off of him. That's just my take, but I thought that was the match of the show, in my opinion.
It was awesome match, man. It's nice to see three guys in there hitting that hard, chop and punch and kick. And every move they did, you felt it. You could feel, oh my God, his chest. Oh my God, the kicks. Like it was just three big guys kicking the crap out of each other. You don't see that much in wrestling anymore. It's good to see almost like an old school feel to it, chop, kick, punch, throw each other. I'm glad Gunther got it. He's young. But man, these are three of the toughest guys in WWE, and it was one of my favorite matches of the night, and it was brilliant. Connor?
oh, agree. That was awesome, and yeah, I was just like, what am I watching? This is insane. Like I keep saying, like there's just so much chance for things to go wrong, especially in a triple threat match. There's so many moving pieces, but it flowed well. They hit well. And the spectacle of seeing Drew McIntyre, he's just another behemoth of a man. That is a gladiator in action, and to see him so fast dart across the ring and jump over the top rope as flawless as he does it. That is a sight to behold, and I think it's a good litmus test as well for Sheamus to win the IC title. It's like, okay, does Sheamus still have it? The people still behind Sheamus. The crowd was all behind Sheamus. They really want him to win it. So I hope that's a good indicator of, okay, this will pay off when Sheamus wins down the line. He still moves well. He's still passionate. He still tells stories really well. Those three guys are just phenomenal. It's crazy to think they've had such a long career and they're still just killing it as they are. It seems like they're in their prime. And I keep saying the word spectacle, but I feel like this WrestleMania, it just bounced back after, maybe previous years, and it was like it felt like big match feels, and that was another spectacle, just hard hitting, just three
Yeah.
guys showing the roster like what it is, like almost like they're the gatekeepers, like go through this, like we're the ones who are going to tough it out,
No, the storytelling was phenomenal. I mean, the bro kick cancels out the Claymore. The Claymore comes back and cancels out the bro kick, power bombs, everything. The near two counts all the way through and through. I mean, the timing was impeccable with these guys, man. They hit their spots perfectly.
It was great.
Phenomenal.
One of the best matches of the whole, both nights. It was fun to see.
All right. All right, let's move on. Asuka versus Bianca Belair. Okay, here's my take on it. I'm gonna make it really, really quick. I thought this was an excellent match as well. With the minimal buildup that these guys had, they basically told an amazing story here. A story of Asuka's technical abilities and submissions against the power of Belair. And Asuka pushed her. It was a great match. There were moments there where I thought, okay, this is it. Asuka's going to win. And, we all thought, I predicted Asuka to win this. I thought it was time for a changing of the guard and everything and what have you. I almost feel that Asuka didn't win. And this is just my thought entirely, okay? First off, great match, great storytelling. I thought these girls worked really, really well. Bianca won. Okay, I'm okay with that. Now, in Bianca's entrance, she had the Divas of Compton come out with her, the singing troupe. You guys saw them, right?
Yeah.
You saw that last girl, the tiniest of them all that danced with her at the end, the contortionist. Her mother died that morning.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh man.
Right, but she insisted on participating as a part of it. She wanted to do this so bad, right?
That's cool.
I'm not saying that's the case, but I almost get a feeling like, oh, maybe just later, state champion, and then we'll figure something out later down the road. Because right now, I don't know who's going to challenge Belair. Like, I'm looking at it from that perspective. Okay, you've kept the belt on her, but who's the next meaningful challenger to this title now?
Maybe Asuka gets a rematch.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, then Asuka's tweeting online, like, maybe it's time for me to move on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, obviously she's playing what she's playing as well. There's probably a rematch in the works here somewhere, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, outside of Asuka, who else on the Raw roster do you guys feel that could potentially even challenge or give a meaningful match to her now?
I think possibly
she's run through the whole roster.
Well, I think coming up, you got to look for the other champions. I think Lita could be the next one to step up. That could be a really good barn burner. Lita Belair, see who takes it. Yeah, Lita could be the one.
Lita can barely move, bro.
I'm joking, man. No, no, I don't know either. What a match, though. I didn't know that. That's terrible about that little girl's mom, but she played great, man. That little girl was so adorable there. That whole thing, like, it's just really cool. It fits Bianca, that entrance, like inspiring the kids,
Summer's coming. She should just take that troop on the road. They should just be with her wherever she goes, man. I think.
That was so cool. Like, that match was awesome. That was right up there with Fleur and Rhea. I think the night before. I thought great, both great. Everyone was behind Asuka. I think Asuka deserves it. She's been great since she came back at Rumble. Taking that spot with that sit down powerbomb outside, I was like, oh man, I felt that, flowed really well. Good, better storytelling perhaps in that match than Fleur and Rhea, just with the finish, I think with the missing and and it looking like she's going to hit it. She doesn't hit the KOD and gets it in the end. I thought it was a great match, and I was happy with whoever won that. I didn't particularly thought Asuka, but I was happy with either victor, especially seeing Belair's entrance. I thought that is a phenomenal entrance. I was kind of like, this is a feel-good moment, and I think the crowd's behind both. They're both beloved. So right up there with Flair and Rhea night one, and I was happy with either victor. Wanted Asuka to win more. Think she deserves it. It'd be really cool to see her run, but I think Rhea Belair is a much better match down the line to make as well.
I think that was a really hard match to follow up on. Chance, any thoughts?
I thought it was a good match. I don't mind that Bianca won. I think she's the best female wrestler overall in WWE. So I don't know if Asuka's ready to have the belt yet, and maybe that's why they didn't give it to her. They don't think she's ready. I don't know.
Well, here's where I'm going to.
That's my take, but I thought it was a good match. It was as good as Rhea and Charlotte. Good storytelling, hard hitting moves, and she's unbelievable. She's super strong too. Super strong.
Now,
So I'm glad Bianca won. I got no problem with it.
just to quickly piggyback off what you said, Chance, Oscar not being ready for it because they're trying to make her a heel, but they're not getting behind her as a heel. They're still cheering her. So I almost got a sense that they needed to kind of develop that heel character more to make it probably more meaningful when she does take it from her.
And this could be a chase. They could have a rematch
Yeah.
at SummerSlam or whatever. Chase, you
Yeah.
finally get it. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
All right,
You never know
quickly.
wrestling.
Miz and Snoop come out again. They call out the attendance again, and now Miz is angry, saying, "Hey, man, what the fuck? I don't come to your show and do your, make all your decisions for you, blah blah blah." And Snoop says, "Well, let's do it again." And here comes out Shane McMahon, and no one's seen Shane since the last Royal Rumble, almost over a year ago, a year and a half ago now. It feels like that he's been gone. He comes out, he gets into it, he's excited, he's emotional. You can see it on his face as he's coming down. The crowd, the cheers, everything, it's got to him. He's choked up. Those guys start going at it. Miz, being the consummate professional, decides to fight again one more time. Unfortunate situation here. Shane leapfrogs Miz, comes down and tears his quad. Now,
and Snoop Dogg saved the segment with the worst people I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was the worst people elbow you've ever seen. But here's what, man, Snoop Dogg took the audible, figured it out, and that's a hard thing to do. I mean, it just shows you what kind of entertaining Snoop is, man. Like, he saw a situation, oh shit, the guy's broken. What am I supposed to do? We're in a segment. He decides to fight. He throws the worst punch. He throws the worst people's elbow, but he gets the win.
He saved the segment, yeah.
He saved the segment. He totally saved the segment, right? And Miz is selling it perfectly last night, saying, "Oh yeah, you hit me with a brass knuckle with all those rings on your hand, right? That's why you knocked me out." So in essence, you're selling the punch. Like, okay, how could Miz get knocked out by Snoop Dogg? Well, that's how. Great segment. Let's move on. Connor.
I just want to give props to Snoop Dogg. I just wanted to also ask, do you guys know, was he fed to do that? Did he jump in and improv?
Completely improv.
Yeah, no headset or no earpiece. He just did it.
Nothing.
That is, man, give more props to Snoop Dogg. He completely saved what would have been a nightmare for Shane and a nightmare of a segment. He came in, and I thought the punch was pretty good. I thought he threw one of those punches really well, and I mean,
well, I mean, it's a working punch, but I mean, but he basically saved it.
That's cool. I could have swore, like, I was wondering that when I was watching it. I thought, did someone tell him to go and do that? If that was just him improving, man, he deserves a lot of props backstage.
That was all Dogfather, man. That was all him. Like, basically, awesome. Shane went down, and at first they weren't even sure like what was going on, and once they realized that, oh shit, he's really hurt, and that's when Snoop took over. Like, even Miz looked confused to a certain extent, like, what the hell? What are we gonna do? Right? But that just shows you the caliber of entertainer that he is. All right, let's move on here. Hell in the Cell, Demon Finn Balor versus Brood Edge. I thought Gangrel was going to be there, but he wasn't there. Not really major surprises in terms of anyone really coming out per se on either night per se. I guess you got Shane and Pat McAfee, but other than that, I thought Gangrel would have been a part of this and what have you. Your atypical Hell in the Cell match, man, really brutal. It was kind of interesting that each guy had their own color for their plunder. Now, if you look at this whole card, I think one of the things that they did really, really well is kept all the plunder aside. Like, if you looked at every match, it had its own je ne sais quoi, its own quality, its own value. No one really, like, if you think about it, the triple threat match, they could have brought out kendo sticks, could have brought out chairs. They're allowed to do that. No plunder on this show until that Hell in the Cell. Everything was saved for that match, and each guy got their own color coded. Edge was red, and Finn was purple and black. So you could see which each guy was hitting each other with. One thing that I did enjoy is when he tied him up in the corner there with the kendo sticks and held him at bay and knocked him around.
Yeah.
How about Finn getting hit with the ladder the hard way? They had to stop the match. They gave him a shot and they stapled him shut there to continue the match.
That was brutal.
So that's just crazy tough right there. Right guy won. I'm sure there's a lot of great moments here, but we're just going to try to wrap it up here a little quick here as well. So I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was your typical Hell in the Cell. In terms of the story, one can argue that Finn should have won just to keep him going, but I don't think it hurts his character. But for the closure of the story, and which was, I think, the theme of this WrestleMania, closure. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of stories got closed. We got the endings for a lot of stories that had been told over a period of time. So that for me was the theme of WrestleMania, was closure. And this was just another example of that. Edge got the victory that he should have gotten.
Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's it, man.
Edge
Very
is,
simple.
you know, I say, you know, the same again, spectacle, the entrance, the clothing that Edge is wearing coming out is just like look phenomenal. Edge is, I think, just a phenom. Like he just defies what you would think is possible. You want to talk about someone aging but staying in their prime, getting better. Edge is like if WWE is smart, they'll just keep Edge, like just keep him. He moves well. He puts it on the line. He's taking risks. He has got the passion, you know, like you see it in his face, how he hypes. It gets me hyped every time I watch Edge doing his entrance. I'm hyped. Like my energy is ramped up when Edge comes out. He makes you believe, you know. Finn Balor, what an absolute trip. He's another one that deserves so much props. Like I seen on Instagram his wound. He split. That wound is nasty. That's the skull is split open, you know. Then he still goes on to after that to hit that spot where he jumps off the biggest spot, which is the Miss Coup de Grace through the table. You know, it was a bloody match. It was a violent match. It was for the story of how personal it got. It was a good roundup, and Edge is a phenom. Finn is the man. I'm glad he got to just show how good Finn is, because I think he's a bit goofy in the Judgment Day.
Me too.
I think Finn deserves better than what he's getting in the Judgment Day, so I'm glad he got his what he deserves in the Hell in a Cell. He looked mean. He looked savage.
I agree with everything you guys basically said there, so I can't really add much more to it. You guys summed it up beautifully.
That's beautiful. All right, so we get the second missed of the night. So we have the Hall of Fame recap. Everyone's coming out, and they miscued Muda at when he released the mist, and they didn't time it properly. So if you want to call it two missed nights, that was it, man. Ray looked kind of interesting in that solid black mask, man. That was a weird looking mask that he had on.
Yeah.
Oh, quickly back to Edge. What do you guys think of his disco ball skull cap tribute to Triple H and Scott Steiner and Saturday Night Fever? It seemed like
I liked it. I thought his atmosphere was cool.
That was interesting mask, man. I was almost kind of scared of that. That looked more scary than most masks I've seen.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right, let's get on to the main event of the night. The crowd has been live, and they're still alive here. Here we go. We are here. Cody Rhodes against the Tribal Chief. Best entrance of the night went to Roman Reigns. Those 6 pianists out there, just phenomenal. That was a cool entrance. Basically, this match just starts with the stare down, and we get into that. Roman early on using his power to kind of dominate. You can see the storytelling, like the inexperience of Cody Rhodes at the main event level, missing a couple spots, not intentionally, just in storytelling, getting caught. But for the most part, you know, he was just getting overpowered, and you could see that Roman was just working him over till he got his moments. Solo interferes, gets kicked out of the match. -1 was there, guys.
I thought that was cool.
Right?
That was cool.
Tony Khan's probably like, what the fuck are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there. You're -1. Why? Back and forth. Solo gets involved. I love the look on the referee's face when he heard the slap. He didn't see him do it, but he heard it. And just the way he turned around and kicked him out, thinking, okay, here we go. This is like the beginning of the end. Now we're going to get close to the end. These guys took almost 15 minutes to get to the ring, just to give you guys a heads up. This thing started at 7:45 in the evening. So just good storytelling, good facial expressions. Roman's beating up Cody, and he's kind of making fun of his family, who's at ringside there as well. Once the openings came there, the Usos came out at one point, you know, thrown away by the new undisputed tag teams and KO and Sami Zayn. Then you're thinking, okay, this is where we're going to get to it. Everyone's being cleared out. And I really thought, okay, here we go. Like he's hitting this crosscutter and crossroads, and Solo shows up, chops him in the throat. Roman Reigns, 947 days, still your WWE undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, I'll say this: when Roman Reigns has a match, it feels like a main event. It feels special when you're watching him. He looks like the champ. He acts like the champ. He wrestles like the champ. He tells stories like the champ. I don't think he gets enough credit how good he tells the stories. He's gotten better on the mic.
Yeah.
He's built like a Greek god. I'm glad that he won. I was wrong. I thought Cody would ring. This is the only surprise really of the night was Roman winning, because 95% of people thought Cody. I don't know who made this call, but I love it. I'm glad Roman won. I don't think Cody is ready to be the champ right now. I just think he needs a little more time, but I'm glad Roman got it. It was a heck of a match. It felt like a main event. Cool entrances, hard hitting, great story. The story is going to continue on. It just got started. Maybe we'll see a three-way match between Lesnar, Cody, and Reigns, something like that. But I don't know. But either way, the match was great. Roman worked his butt off. Cody worked his butt off, and I'm glad Roman won.
Yeah. No.
My take.
Yeah. And I'm such a fan. I'm still invested so much, man. Love Cody. Whenever I was bummed out. I was bummed out for a good 15 to 20 minutes after that. I had to recollect myself. I wanted to see Cody win. I wanted to see the tears. I wanted to see him kiss the ring with the titles. I wanted to see the fireworks. I wanted to see all of that. And I was just walking around like, man, I felt like such a mark. I was like, I don't want to watch wrestling anymore. This sucks. Why didn't like give us what we want? But then as the time went on, I thought, this is reflecting on it, and I thought that was probably the better decision. That was a good decision. I texted you actually when I was watching it, because obviously I was watching it later because it's on super early in the morning over here. And I texted you, I had tears in my eyes, man. I was tearing up watching Cody's entrance. I just felt like Cody, this means something to Cody, and seeing it with his kid, holding his baby, -1, kissing the belt, giving it to -1, like I was like, oh man, this is emotional. He feels it. He's in it. I love seeing people that's in it, that's experiencing the moment that they're in, that's about to happen. So he sold that because one, I think he was doing that because he felt the energy of being in the main event of WrestleMania. But then two, I think it was a swerve also to really make us believe even more, with that emotional, like he's going to get it, phenomenal match, great back and forth. Paul Heyman is the GOAT. Paul Heyman is the man. Love that dude to death. You just watch him outside the ring. He's always on, like all the reactions. This is all for you, my tribal chief. I love you, my tribal chief. You made this relevant. That guy is just, holding it up. The whole bloodline storyline, the whole bloodline faction has been phenomenal. They continue to reign forward. That makes sense. It just make them even more dominant, make them hated more. Because people love Roman Reigns. So how do you make them hate him? Like it left me bitter. I was bitter. I was sad. I was annoyed. It made me go, fuck Roman Reigns, like fuck the bloodline. So, I mean, they delivered whoever made that decision. It was a good decision because I think Chance is right. I think that Cody isn't going to be the man that Reigns is, but he can be the man. Just give him a little more time. He is building and building. Cody is building up, and I think he's loved for good reasons. But I think this match was great. Great swerve. Yeah, I was all behind it.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was a great swerve as well. I mean, okay, first, my first reaction was this. Okay, so I was a little bummed too because it's WrestleMania. You just want to see some new blood kind of come in, right? I mean, I get it. But once I settled down and, thought about it a little bit more, here are a couple things that I thought about. One, you're really close to 1,000 days. Do you want to capitalize on that too? Two, even if Vince was behind this, as some people have said, I'm not saying he was, even if Vince was behind this, he's the one who flew to Atlanta to court Cody Rhodes into coming to the WWE. So even if Vince had made that decision, he was making the decision based on his guy that he brought in, sort of a deal, right? Ultimately, though, I think you're right. It comes down to, are you ready to carry the titles, sort of a deal. So I think something's going to happen at Crown Jewel because that will mark the 1,000-day anniversary. Because there is talk of splitting the two belts up. You can still keep one on Roman, but you got to bring one back to Raw somehow. So I almost have a feeling that you're going to see this match at Crown Jewel where Cody may take one of the belts and then bring it back to Raw. And then you go to Seth Rollins there if you have to take it off of him to carry it, right? Speaking of Seth, he's pretty bitter about this because he still has never had a main event at WrestleMania. Go figure, eh?
There's only 2 nights.
I want...
No, but he's never been the main event, even though he interfered. Okay, guys.
I was gonna say one more thing about the Roman Cody thing.
Yeah.
Another reason I think Roman won is because this story just started a month ago. We just had Chamber, and then we knew after that when Roman beat Sammy. So now we know it's Cody versus Roman. It was such an early story. They haven't even told the full story yet. Cody will chase him. Eventually, Cody will get the belt from Roman. Just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah. And in terms of,
it was rushed.
Yeah. And in terms of a three-way match, Brock can't wrestle for the title, by the way.
Yeah, and I just want to say also credit
right,
to
thing, yeah.
I just say credit to Cody as well, because you said, like, you're right. I mean, the whole thing, the whole momentum, the build up, the talk of fans, the chanting was for Sammy up until obviously it just changed Elimination Chamber to Cody. But I think the credit to Cody for a main event guy, because he took that short amount of time and made that really relevant too. You know, both those guys worked their asses off in promos, coming on the SmackDown, coming on the Raw to build that up to the main event. And I hope that they don't do the title split as well. I like one true champion. Roman is the guy.
Yes.
He's made that so relevant. I don't like this.
I get it.
Two champ, you know.
I think a lot of us like it. I have no problem with either.
Because then it waters it down.
But it presents a problem like we did with the Royal Rumble, right? Like, say Rock was going to be there. Like, okay, how do you do this? Like, would Rock have to win the Royal Rumble? You know what I mean? Like that was the dilemma that we were all facing coming out of this, because you had Sammy, who was super hot. There was still talk of The Rock coming back. And then you got the Royal Rumble winner, who's automatically guaranteed a title shot. Yet both titles are held by the same guy. So all the lead up was, okay, should we do a triple threat? Like, now that it's done, you know, the thoughts are coming out. Like, what was being discussed is now starting to emerge. A triple threat was discussed. Roman fighting on both nights was discussed at one point to kind of do this. So in a way, you almost need it, because it's kind of like, okay, otherwise, I don't know. I can see from both perspectives, but I think that's why they need to do the split, in order to kind of avoid these kind of situations again down the road.
I think if you split it, I'm with Connor. I think you need to have one true champ. I think you split the belts up, it waters it down. Now you got the Raw champ, you got the SmackDown champ. I think it waters it down. Having one true big dog as a champ.
I agree, and I have no problem with that. And I think it's awesome. But if that's the case, then he needs to be equal on both shows. He can't just be on SmackDown every third week.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't want to see I don't think you need to see the champion every week. I think it's more special when you see them not as often. Because you look forward to it. Oh my God, here's Reigns, here's Lesnar, right?
Even if the guy's coming on once a week, he should be on at least one of the shows once a week. That's all I'm saying. Like, you just show up on Raw for a segment, or be, even if you tape your segments, right? Like, make it relevant. You know, those are your main titles. They have to be relevant.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to see the champ every Raw or SmackDown. I think every few is good enough, because that way it's an attraction. You don't always need to see Andre or Hogan. You don't always need to see the prize fighter all the time. You got to get that pay-per-view to see them. You got to tune in this special SmackDown or Raw to watch them. See, if you see it every Raw and SmackDown, it waters it down.
I agree. Like, I think that's a big thing. Like, because like whenever I see Roman build next week, Roman's going to be there. I'm like, I'm going to watch anyway, but I'm excited because Roman's going to be there. But if Roman's there every week, I'm like, oh, cool, Roman's here, you know. And it's like, it's nice to get it every single week, but it builds that anticipation, just like WrestleMania, why it's special. It only that big spectacle like that only really happens once a year. Of course, to try with SummerSlam, but it's WrestleMania. You know, I like looking forward to the champ. You know, that's why I don't think Cody would be such a good role right now, because he doesn't have that Roman Reigns can take time off effect. You know, he has to be there all the time as well. Where I also like that. I like that effect of, you know, we don't get to see him all the time. He wrestles on a special occasion, so it just feels so much bigger. And Roman plays it so well, and he's got the bloodline to protect him as well, to keep the story going when he's not there. They're talking about Roman, you know, they're representing Roman, you know. So unlike Brock was gone. You know, like, he's not there. There's no talk of Brock, and it just feels like it's stale, it's blank. But you've got all these connections to Roman showing up as well. So I think it works just tremendously. And I like one true champion, like Roman being a main attraction, and it makes him bigger because you don't get to see him all the time. I'm for it. I see the problem that arises for people like Seth Rollins, for people like Sammy, for people like Kevin Owens. You know, these guys that the US title is kind of, you know, they deserve more than the US title kind of level, but at the same time, he has to fight harder, and Roman's elevating everyone's game, I think. So yeah, I'm for it.
No, I totally agree. I think I'm just looking back at the whole year of Raw and the amount of times that he showed up on Raw. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. It's just kind of like, from the time he won it last year at Mania to this Mania, I think he showed up on Raw maybe 4 times. You got to just show up on the other show a little bit more. That's all I'm saying.
Consistent, yeah.
Right? That's all. All right, guys.
Yeah.
That's a wrap. We did it.
Sure.
2 nights of WrestleMania. Overall, I would say
WrestleMania
was you know what? I enjoyed night 2 more than I enjoyed night 1, obviously, just because it was more of a swerve of a night and not expected, like Chance was saying. But overall, I gave WrestleMania 8 out of 10.
I like night 1 over night 2, and that both were good nights. I think night 1 was much better in my take. Yeah, give it 8 out of 10. I'm with you on that. Connor, what do you think?
I'm going to see him 8.5. I thought it was great. I thought, it is hard work, 8 hours of wrestling in a
Oh
weekend.
yeah,
We've got family, we've got friends, we got things to
yeah,
do, but somehow I was entertained the whole time. The whole time. I thought
yeah.
by night 2 I was going to get bored. I thought it was like, what's the point now doing 2 nights? And then I continue with the excitement. Edge and Finn delivered, everyone delivered, main event delivered hard. Main event, or not main event, sorry, I just want to say one last thing. I was watching Raw last night and I checked the time of Roman's entrance and I couldn't believe it was like 8 minutes long. I was like, no way, this been going on for 8 minutes. It's like, man, it's ridiculous. But all that aside, I mean, it's again as the spectacle. I think WrestleMania felt like WrestleMania. There wasn't the big celebrity spots, but the matches were there, the feel was there. People went above and beyond. Yeah, I'm excited. I love WrestleMania. I'm going to give it 8 and above. Yeah, I loved it.
Awesome,
Awesome.
awesome. All right, lads, let's wrap it up here. Connor, thank you so much for joining
Yeah,
us. What
thank
is
you,
it,
man.
4 o'clock in the morning
Thank
now
you,
almost for
man.
you?
Enjoy. Yeah, man, it's close to, but I enjoyed it. Thanks,
Get
guys, for
some
letting me
sleep.
be here.
Appreciate you
Get
coming
some
on.
sleep, man.
Getting
Thank you
there,
very
man.
much. Chance Michaels, thank you, brother, for everything that we do. We're just getting
Yeah, it was a good
started
show.
here. Thursday, we have a great show coming up for you guys as well. A surprise interview of sorts. On that note, guys, you know what? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this really quickly. A big shout out and I want to pass on our condolences for the Samp&Chance show and from Connor to Bushwhacker Butch, who passed away yesterday morning in Los Angeles. One last time he showed up with Bushwhacker Luke. Together they had one couple more moments together. He got sick overnight and he passed away in the ICU room. So we were this close to having him on the show, Chance.
If you knew how to work Zoom, he would have been on the show. Rest in peace. 78 years old. Great career, great guy, and thanks for the memories.
No, 100%. So, guys, if you're out there and you want to check out, I did post it again, our episode that we did with Bushwhacker Luke, where he basically shares all the stories and tells everything. Just a phenomenal guy, just a phenomenal podcast. You guys got to check it out to hear some of those great stories. On that note, I am Bobby Sampson. I am joined with my man, Mr. Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great AC/DC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast and enjoys Connor content, we salute you.
We do salute you. And in the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and in between time, that's it for Samp&Chance. Connor the Mauler, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, man.
It was a blast. I guess we'll see you at SummerSlam.
See you there, man. Yeah,
All
already
right.
before.
Samp&Chance out, guys. Have a great night.